And we are live. Hi, everyone. Let's give people a few minutes to tune in. Joining me today is Jasper, VP of Product at Luzmo. Hey, Jasper, how are you today?
Hey everyone, yeah, really good, Lena. Thanks for asking. It's the second time now we're going to do this workshop, and this time it's really online workshop. Last time it was offline. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Same here. We are going to stream here on Riverside. We also have a LinkedIn live stream and the YouTube live stream. So while you're running through the workshop, I will be checking our platforms to see if anyone has any questions, and I will let you know if there is something that needs to be repeated or explained in more detail. And this is going to be a very hands-on, get something to build type of workshop. So in case you have any questions, in case something's not working for you, please flag it to us so that you can make sure to follow along. And we are recording this session as well, which is good news. So in case you need to drop off, you will be able to catch up on the recording. And in case you have any questions after the session, we're also very, very open to answering them, sharing any helpful links for the workshop that we did in New York. We had a couple of people reach out to us asking for additional links, and don't hesitate to do just that in case you have any follow-up questions or questions during the event itself. And you can see that there is a link shared by Jasper in chat. It's a Notion page, so you can follow along and reference it in case you have any questions or something needs clarification for you. So Jasper, over to you. I'm going to minimize my video, just
Sure.
be here to answer any questions and facilitate the chat. So over to you. Let's get started. Really excited about it.
Thanks, Lena. Hey, Lena, before I really kick off, are you able to do polls? So are you able to ask questions in chat that people can vote on?
Just a moment here. You were breaking up a little bit, but I believe you asked about polls option in chat. So yes, we can do that. So
Perfect. Yeah,
just let me know what we need to
because we're
do and I'll be happy to set it up.
Thanks. Yeah, because we're a small group, so I'd like to keep it interactive and actually focus on what people want to discuss and see instead of me just going all along the script. I cannot see exactly. I don't think I can fully see the names of people in the chat, so it would be good for me to know how familiar everyone is with Lusmo joining now. Because if you're very familiar, I don't need to go deep into Lusmo and how it ties into this workshop, and I can start with the AI and agentic part.
Yes, let me just really quickly put up a poll for you and maybe you can get started and then we can calibrate how deep you want to go.
Perfect. All right, I'll start with sharing my screen because that's what I'll do for the most part of this workshop. All right, here we are. So the link I shared leads to this document. I'll come back to that in a minute. This is a workshop we did for a large group of people at ProductCon New York. It was well received, so that's why we decided to repeat it online. Before we jump into that, and before I do an introduction of it, I quickly want to show where we get to. Because building agentic workflows can mean a lot. What I want to zoom in here is how can you cater better to users who are used to using tools like Cloud Code to interact with your data and also interact with the data in your product. So you're seeing more and more people who are actually leaving maybe your UI and your interface to do work with your product and your data inside tools like Cloud Code. So there's kind of a third-party interface to your tools and your data. I've heard some of our customers ask about that and say, "Hey, we see that as a bit of competition." We definitely look differently against that. That's just a different interface that people would want to use, and if you do it in a smart way, you can help your users to access data in a useful way and help them to get all the context and the same type of catered experience inside a tool like Cloud Code or ChatGPT as they would have in your platform with embedded analytics. What I'm showing here is a bit the end result. We're not going to work to exactly this, but I'll come back to that. Where you see charts connected to the demo app that we will use, the makeup company that will run today, You see them appear here in Claude, and I can even add them back to my app. But with that, I'll jump straight to the introduction. Actually, get us started. I'll do the real quick, short introduction of Lusmo and where that ties in, without making it a sales pitch, obviously.
And yes, for it to be honest, the poll is not making this any easier for you because we have 2 votes. Someone saying first time using Lusmo, first time hearing about it. Someone saying I'm a power user. So you will probably need to hit the golden middle there.
I'll keep it short, and it's definitely also not a training for Lusmo. So don't be afraid. I'm going to zoom into how to make your data useful and accessible without losing full control and without giving users all the context and tools they would have into your app. How to do that in tools like Cloud Code for your users. And I'm just using Lusmo here as one example of how that can be done, but the outcome of this workshop is definitely applicable much broader. What I'm showing here is something else. This is Lusmo. So Lusmo, the real quick introduction, because it does make sense to give that context. The real quick introduction is that it's a platform to build embedded analytics, to embed in your application so your users can get insights into data. For example, access dashboards, ask questions to their data, and get the insights they need to make decisions in your platform. This is an example of Lusmo's Dashboard Studio, where you can build an entire dashboard. Obviously, you can prompt charts here and edit your dashboard with AI. This can go very deep, but the end result, the end goal of that is to actually embed that in an application like this. And this is, to introduce it, Sales Compass. This is the product that for the next 15 minutes we are going to manage and we are going to build something for. And you recognize this dashboard. This is where the Lusmo dashboard is embedded. I'm, in this case, a user called Marcus. I'm logged into to the Sales Compass application. And I can browse that dashboard here, interact with it, do things. This is a very familiar process, I assume, to most people. With Lusmo, you can do other things like embed charts and deeper into the rest of your UI, even outside of dashboards. And naturally, it's very useful if you can also allow inside your own app. So we're Sales Compass inside your own app, a data chat. So if users wonder about deeper questions or deeper analysis, they can drill down by just asking about that instead of applying a ton of filters to a dashboard and hope they get the answers out. So this is all cool. And the pattern where you see that I can ask questions about data inside my Sales Compass app is probably also not something that's new to many of you. This is a pattern that you see more and more, and that works really well together with more traditional embedded analytics like charts and dashboards. But like I said, we see a new trend in the past since the start of the year, where more and more customers say, hey, actually, I have a quick question. I don't need to do a lot of work right now in the Sales Compass application. I have a quick question. I have my Cloud Code app or ChatGPT app open anyway. Let me just ask that question there. And today we're going to demonstrate in the workshop on how to facilitate that. Roughly, there are 2 default ways to do that. One is by providing an MCP and put some guardrails around that. An easier way that's often overlooked is to provide a few skills to your users. Then they don't need to install an MCP. You don't need to do as much work on authentication and some other things. It's a bit more lightweight. So for users that want a lightweight way to access data, but still have some guardrails and similar experience, it's a great, it can be a great opportunity to provide them with a skill so that Cloud actually becomes an agent that's more capable to work with Sales Compass. That's what we're going to do today. And the first step there, I'm going to jump back here to our guide. The first step there is that we actually make sure that Cloud can connect to Sales Compass. There will be several steps, and the goal is to do it all in one window. So open up your Cloud chat. It doesn't need to be Cloud Code, probably works as well, but just a regular Cloud chat. If you don't have access to Cloud, please try ChatGPT or whatever your preference has. I tested this in Cloud though, so I know that for this workshop, if you have Cloud available, please go for that one. And
But I
like I
think
said,
we'll be definitely curious to hear from folks if they use something else, how it worked for them, because I think skills and prompting approach more or less works across all LLMs. But I think it'll be interesting for us to hear if there are any edge cases or any recommendations from using ChatGPT, for example. So please share in chat your experience if something's working, something's not working, even if you're not using Claude.
yeah, thanks, Lena. So let's get started. The first step, obviously, is we need to connect to the data. I already generated a key and token that will give Claude access to our data. In this case, for Marcus in Sales Compass. And I generated already a bunch of instructions to tell Claude more about how the data looks, how it can be queried, how the data is structured so that Claude can make better decisions in how to query the data. If you don't supply that, it will probably be able to pull the right data eventually, but it does need to do it will need to do a lot of digging. So this is some pre-work that I've done, but it's very important as context to that skill that we're going to create later and want to end up with. So you can easily expand this, tap copy, and then open a new Claude window, and I'll just do it with you, and you just paste it in there. It will show up at this, like this. Those are the basic instructions. Don't hit send yet. I'm going back and I'm starting with that first question. What are my monthly sales and Sales Compass split by product? If you feel adventurous, you can make it another question as well. Take into account that Sales Compass is about sales data. So you can copy paste this as well and hit send. And this will take a little bit of time to pull the data and give an answer. This is a very important first step, and this also shows one of the ingredients that you need. You need a way for your users to access their data over API, or like I said, could be MCP as well. But it's important that it's not a generic, that it's not an API that's too focused, that can only pull one thing. You want to give Claude some freedom and, hey, here is access to all the data that this user has access to. And then that it can freely query and look for the right answer to this question. If you've tried this, you're probably getting the same error as I'm getting here, which is not part of the workshop, but I'll be able to fix it here. So apparently I added the wrong access key there, and Claude says that it can pull the data of Marcus. So let me actually do what Claude tells me and double check the access key and token.
And I think Jim in chat is sharing the same issue he ran into. He's seeing the error. It looks like the Lismo API domain isn't on the network allow list. So it seems like it's the same consistent experience as what you're seeing.
That will indeed be a difficult one to, well, if it's not on the domain allow list, it sounds like something that is specific to, if you're at an office, then that's probably specific to your office setup. If you're seeing the same errors I have, that we don't have the right access key and token, then that is the issue. Let me one, and I actually.
Yes, and Jim is saying that he might need his VPN. So if that's the error that you're seeing, maybe either try using VPN or selecting a different Wi-Fi network that will allow to access the API. And Jasper, can you show what you're seeing in Claude right now? Because we see
Yes.
Notion. Yes, there we go.
Thank you. If you see that happen again, Lena, I have to switch a lot between screens. So if you see that happen again, please tell me. So you see in my Claude that I recreated an access key and token for Marcus. This one is working, so I probably made a copy paste error with the other one. Let me share this in chat. And these are short-lived tokens that, for example, are also used in Lismo's front end, so they're safe to share, not just in this workshop case, but with users in general. And I'm going to share that in chat. And here, and for some, here's the chat back. Yeah. So just in the chat now, I shared a new key and token. If you copy paste that, tell Claude if you already tried it, hey, use this key and token instead. It will be able to produce what I'm showing on my screen. And
I'm going to save it to Notion just in case someone's following us in the recording. So we'll have this updated key available for you if you're watching this async.
I noticed, Lena, that actually that it the key I'm using now that it is in Notion, but somehow it's not updated to the published version of Notion, of which we shared the link. So if you could take a look at that, it's probably about that. Well, to continue, you see the data rolling out here. So it's giving me a table, and it was pretty quick as well. Like I said, I think it's good to emphasize here that the key ingredient here is that I gave Claude an endpoint that it allows you to freely query all the data scoped to that user. So that's, I think, one thing you have to think about. And even if you provide an MCP already, having an API there, especially now in this agentic world, is very important. There's a difference between like having 10 different scoped API endpoints that can pull something about, hey, here are monthly sales numbers, here's something else that's very specific and has a specific shape. It's important that Claude has some freedom and that it can run all kinds of queries and aggregations on that. So you see the data rolling in here. Now what a lot of users will actually do is continue with, hey, I want this visualized. So I can ask here, show it in a chart, but to go to the next step of our guide is tell it to create a full report. Copy paste this. You don't need to wait for me to finish talking because this is the problem that might take some time. But if you copy paste this to Claude, then I'll do the same. So switching the screen, then you will see that Claude is going to analyze the 4 different metrics I'm asking about, run separate queries against that, and then it will probably build, at least that's what I hope here, a nice HTML dashboard and show that to me. Again, here I'm asking for 4 different metrics in a report, and here again it's important that Claude has that freedom to create its own queries. You also see a bit here the downside for your users to do this in something like Claude. Like I did add a lot of context to that first instruction, but it has to figure out a lot on what data do I use. It doesn't really efficiently group queries. It wouldn't work as smoothly as when you would build this into your own product like that with Sales Compass, but with the chat there. But Claude will manage to do this. And users can basically ask any questions, and ask for any report. And this is something that we see happening a lot, where users are creating these type of reports and then sharing that even with colleagues here. So we're going to give this some time to build that, but you can see it already started with creating an HTML page. I'm pretty sure some nice report will come out, and I have something saved already. So I'm going to show that one, this one. So here you see one result of the outcome of that report. One thing that you already notice is this looks very different from Sales Compass. Claude did give it a nice layout, but the downside of this is, as you can see, is that every time I try to regenerate, I can even go back and tag retry, this report will look differently. So that's the first problem here. It doesn't look like Sales Compass, and as a user, I need to do a bit more time to digest this, especially if I start sharing this with colleagues, and I even have other colleagues sharing Sales Compass reports generated by Claude with me. Every time you need to do some processing to figure out, okay, I'm looking at Sales Compass numbers, but how is it visualized this time? A funnel here. I think there's a funnel somewhere. This looks like the funnel, so I don't even recognize it as a funnel here, because in Sales Compass, to remind you, we actually used a funnel chart. So it takes more time to really understand the data, and a bit more time to really understand what am I looking at actually. Apart from that, there might also be specific things that Claude can provide different type of answers for. Something simple here, like if I'm asking for sales over time without providing any context, Claude one time might take the amount of deals over time. Another time it might choose to show the amount of revenue over time. And this is about sales, but revenue can also be calculated in many different ways. So there might even be differences in how Claude answers my questions depending on the assumptions it makes and the context I provide. So what would be really cool and would be great to hear, by the way, if all of you have been able to produce a report like this. What would be great and really helpful to customers is if we can build a skill that not only gives context to query Sales Compass, that also provides Claude with the same context to produce a more consistent report. So more consistency, and would be very good for us, of course, as Sales Compass owners. That is also a bit branded and recognizable as Sales Compass. I'm going to take a quick look at the chat here.
Yeah, and I launched a quick poll just to see how everyone's keeping up, if the report is ready or it's still work in progress. So yeah, let's see if we're ready to move on or people need some time to finish what's processing.
And if not, I'll just continue. And please, of course, like I said, we're not a huge group. So if you have questions or want me to move and take a side step somewhere, challenge me, ask me. So we have that report and we wanted to make it look more and feel more and work more like a Sales Compass report. If you're really adventurous, then for the next step, I'd say try to do this with UI and branding of the product or system that you are managing, but also feel free to stick with Sales Compass if you don't want to make it too difficult for yourself. The next step will be to make this report really Sales Compass branded and make it repeatable once we have it branded. One easy way to do that is I have a couple of tips here, but this is the real workshop part where you can take some freedom and try to make it better than mine. One good way to do it is to take a screenshot of Sales Compass. You have the link, but you can also just in the guide, there is a screenshot. You can click the little dots, the little menu there, and tap copy image and just add it to Claude. I see I actually already made that start. Let me do that. That's not working like I hoped, so I'm going to download the image. And we're not sharing anymore, Lena.
Yes, you stopped sharing, so need to reshare and show how you're dropping the screenshot. And while you're doing that, just curious, from your experience, is dropping a screenshot with the look and feel of the product enough, or do you want to go as far as upload the design system, upload a few references?
Yeah.
What works best from your experience?
It's a very good question because you can go really deep with skills. And nowadays, with context windows getting bigger, you can really add a lot of details. And the benefit compared to MCPs is that skills are only loaded in when they're really needed, so they don't pollute your user's context window if they're not needed. That makes it lightweight, and also that makes sure that you don't need to be hesitant by adding more context. So I'm keeping it a bit to the basics to get a somewhat good result that I'm happy with now for the workshop. But you're right, you could indeed go deeper by providing a design system for each type of visualization. You could provide details on how they could be visualized, variants of that. And very important, something that I haven't added here in the tips. Again, more context about the data and how specific data should be visualized is very important as well. If it's about the sales funnel from prospecting to proposal or deal closed, that we always want that in the funnel visualization. Or how do we distinguish what do we show in a metric if a user asks for sales numbers? What is the basic? What do we call a sales number? Number of deals, number of revenues, something else, committed revenue, yearly revenue, those type of things. So you can add a lot of definitions, and that's where it really becomes helpful for your customers. But I think this is a good start. And again, if you're now running this, challenge you, I'll show you my result with those 5 in a second. I'll challenge you to get it better than mine. I'm dropping the screenshot.
And yes, we can see your Claude now. Really curious how this is going to turn out from a single screenshot.
And I'll let this run. This should be quicker than the past prompt, but I've done this before, obviously. So I'll show all of you what I ended up with last time. Last time I ended up with this. And granted, it's not the same as true Sales Compass, but it's pretty close. If I'm being critical of myself, then I think still the biggest downside here is you see the funnel data is represented in a different way. I'm pretty sure I didn't use instructions. So if I would regenerate this report with this style, next time I might get a funnel chart. If I regenerate again, I might get a column chart instead of a bar chart. And then that's confusing if you generate these more often. So there are definitely things I can do here to make it more consistent and easy to read and understand for users who are already used to Sales Compass. And I added some other things that are useful, like a button to link back to open Sales Compass in this report for if a user would share it with colleagues. The date was generated by, because this is static data, it's not live. So the moment I generate this, it's already getting old. But this looks a lot more like our actual product, and therefore a lot easier to consume. Like most important metrics at top, same type of color schema. But yeah, Lena, it's definitely possible to get this better. So I don't know if it's even possible to share screenshots in our video chat, but it would be cool if someone is daring enough to share a screenshot of what he produced. So there are a few other things here, like I had the open button, question date. The name of the creator is useful because that report is scoped to that user. And going back, I'm going to have a look at the other one that we created. Wait, this is the entire different conversation again, where I didn't copy paste the question I just asked. Now I have to search for where I just did my other report. Was it here? No, but well, so this is another one where I tried the Claude question. It's I guess a good example of what will happen if you don't provide such a skill to your users. Every time it will look different. Same question up here, just asked again in a different thread, and it produces something that again takes a lot of time for me to understand how it should be interpreted. So going back to our guide. When you take these steps, we have the two most important ingredients to get to a good skill. We provided Claude with a way and instructions to access the data, together with some context about how the data looks, so it can find things quickly and understands the scope of the data. And we provided Claude with instructions to generate more consistent reports that are also more on-brand, so they are easy to interpret by users. When we have those two things, we can turn this into a skill. And if you did this all in the same conversation, that's actually pretty easy. You can copy paste this prompt here, and it doesn't need to be a complicated prompt. You can also still tweak it. And if you do this in a real serious case to make this production level, you will probably do many edits on a skill based on feedback. But it can be as simple as the prompt here. Hey, we did a few things, like we started to retrieve data from Sales Compass, and we created styling and guidelines to make it compatible with Sales Compass. And then we basically tell Claude, use the skill creator, which is a skill that Claude has by default, to turn this into a skill. When you do that, you can just copy paste that and add that. When you do that, Claude is going to create a bunch of files, describe what it did, and you will end up with the little button down here, Sales Compass skill. So I can save the skill in Claude and actually use it. And I can download it, which allows me to distribute it to my customers, for example. When I save the skill, I can show that. In this case, I have to override the skill I already had there. When I go to customize and skills here on the left, you will see the Sales Compass skill here. And if you look through the files and the references, you see basically a summary of what we told Claude in the conversation is here added by Claude in the skill. And this is also how it will look for Sales Compass customers. When they install this skill, you'll see it here in their list of skills that Claude can use. At that point, if I want to do anything, I can just ask something like, and I can do this in the new chat, something like, use the Sales Compass skill to show me sales over time and deals by sales. All right. And then the one thing that we want to know here is, does it indeed use the skill? It's using something better we have than the skill that I'll jump into next. It's using the MCP. Not sure if it works actually, if it has to choose between a Sales Compass MCP or a Sales Compass skill, but I'm going to use this.
And Jasper, have you tried running this end-to-end, and I believe you did, without explaining every single step? Like on average, how long does it take you to go from the first prompt to a working skill and the result that you're happy with?
Yeah, so this works end to end. Now in my setup, you see it has a bit of trouble because because I have a lot of Sales Compass demo things installed and it doesn't really understand how to choose. So this works end to end. Of course, honestly, the Sales Compass sample covers the basics. Like it's a little bit simplified. The data structure is relatively simple. And if you would really start testing this, you quickly notice that, hey, here's a point where Claude makes a wrong decision, or this is a point where Claude makes the right decision, or ChatGPT makes the wrong decision, and I want the skill to work for both. In reality, you get a skill like this ready, given that you have a good way to query data that's code to your users. In this case, I'm using Lusmo Embedded Analytics to have access to that query API, but that can be any API, but you need something like that, which can be scoped to users and that users can access without their administrator generating an API key or something like that. If you have that, then you get to a skill like this really quickly. The devil's in the details, as always, like fine tuning that skill to make production ready. That's where you will spend time. But that's also what is where the value is, because every time you update a skill by giving it better instructions on how to consistently visualize something or how to interpret the data, it means that's one scenario less where one of your users needs to do that. And it also means that the more your customers will rely on the skill of your product and things look and work like they're used to in your product, the more they're going to view Claude as just one of the interfaces, but also still come back to embedded analytics in your product, and of course to do the actual work in your product. And that's ultimately the goal. That you make it easy to work with Claude, but then also from Claude to make it easy to jump back into Sales Compass, back into RUI, where, if you're being honest, you'd rather have your users in your own UI most of the time, because that's where you can provide them most tools and bells and whistles. And that's also, Lena, I think the introduction to what I want to show here. Let me quickly refresh this, and I can show that also in the actual Claude app to show it in a different way. I'm sharing the same thing. Yes. So here we're in my Claude app, just to show that it doesn't need to be on web only. So this is the Claude desktop app. I shared a few good arguments why skills are useful, but of course an alternative to achieve a similar goal is MCP. Something that is that we can do with MCPs that you cannot do with skills is create an MCP app, and that's beyond the scope of this workshop. But I want to show it. I think both skills and MCP servers both serve their own purpose and should live next to each other, or sometimes in combination. But with an MCP app, you can make it easy for Claude to query data, but you can also render UI, your UI, inside apps like Claude, even like here, the Claude desktop app. And that's what you see I've done here. So this has a Sales Compass MCP installed, and it generates true Sales Compass charts. So behind the scenes, this is a Lusmo chart, same as you saw on the Sales Compass website. And they're exactly the same format. They're using data in the same way. So you cannot get better consistency than this. There's something more to it. If you provide a capability, and I have to share web again, if you provide a capability like Sales Compass where your users are allowed to edit dashboards. So this is a case where I have an editor. I can add charts, resize charts. I can prompt a new chart and or have conversations about data and other charts. If you have a capability like this, then what would make it extremely powerful if content created in an app like Claude Code can also be taken back to Sales Compass. So let me quickly demonstrate that.
So what you're saying is, if you want to have a two-way sync between Claude and your app, you would rather go with MCP. But if you're just pulling the data to view and tweak it in Claude using Cowork or Claude Code, and skills will be sufficient.
I think there will probably users that prefer skills and users that will prefer MCP. I think the two-way data should also work with skills. The one thing that you cannot achieve with skills is rendering your own UI inside Claude. So if you want the best result possible in consistency and visualization data, then the MCP is the way to go. And in this case, if I can add UI, I can also add buttons, right? So with the skill, I could potentially add something like a capability where I can ask Claude, okay, we created a table, now add that back into Sales Compass. Will be a bit complicated though. But here I can actually make it easy for users. So I have some charts here. Let's say I had a long conversation with Claude about, I saw some data spike and had a long conversation with Claude about why that spike, query this data, create that chart, dive into XYZ. And I produce something where I think, that's interesting. I actually should have this metric and this overview inside Sales Compass because I want to come back to it. It's not just a one-off conversation. I want to come back to it. And also have this seen by my colleagues who are using Sales Compass. Then you could provide something like this, where I add that back. Let me just make a copy of the dashboard and call it Jasper. And then I have to do the clunky switching screens here again. Then you see the dashboard Jasper popping up here, and you see that the chart is added. And this is how ideally you think about those third-party tools, that they are an addition to how users will work with data. It's not a replacement. It will never be. Chat is not the perfect interface. It's very powerful in many cases, but if you can make it easy for users to jump from your application where the work actually happens, where they have the overview and all the data together, to tools like Claude, but then also back again, take content they generated there back again into your UI, then it's really powerful. And then you'll see that there's also more, it actually drives interaction to your app as well, because there's an incentive to push more value and content and to create more value for into your UI and your product. Yes, and that concludes all the steps of the workshop. So I'm really eager to know, of course, if there are questions, but also did everyone get to a working skill? And are there questions or others who have maybe thought about different ways to facilitate this?
We do have a question that was asked maybe like 10 minutes ago about the data flow, but I think you explained it pretty clearly. So in case there's still outstanding questions, we can cover those. Other than that, yeah, really curious to hear if everyone got to a point where you were able to both build a skill and produce a similar result to what Jasper just showed. Maybe you can bring the result back up on screen so that we can look at it. And there's a question, are we managing Sales Compass using Claude MCP? So I think that's also something that you covered, Jasper, but maybe you can just quickly recap what we discussed.
Yeah, I see a few questions. Let me go through that. So in terms of the data flow, so like I said, I think if both for skills and MCP, it's a little bit similar in the sense that, like I said, there's a method to query data. In the MCP here under the hood through Lusmo, there's actually a Lusmo agent that handles answering the data. With the skill, we just give it an endpoint so it can query the data. But in general, there needs to be a way for Claude to access the data. And it's, of course, important that it's can be scoped, that there's some access control that can be scoped to the user. With the skill, it's a little bit more tricky. You have to work with something like a key access token that the user should be able to create. With an MCP, you can create a nice login flow and do nice authentication flow. But either way, you need a way to freely query the data through an agent endpoint or a query endpoint. Both can be done with Lusmo, but there are definitely more ways. And once Claude has that data, it will generate static charts, so that kind of thing. If you're working with an MCP app that I'm showing on screen right now, that example, then your MCP has full control over how the data is accessed. So in this case, it's this front-end component that's running a query against Lusmo's backend to pull the data. And again, based on the access control of that user markers. I hope that explains a little bit the data flow. If I need to be more specific, please let me know. And I see there's more in that same question. Are we managing Sales Compass using Cloud MCP? In this case, not yet. If you mean managing Sales Compass, like I imagine Sales Compass could be a full-blown CRM. Then it makes sense that you can also do other tasks like update deals, deals, ask things about relations. This demo app is not that advanced. It's not in this MCP. It's purely focused on the embedded analytics part and the data part. But yes, it would be, of course, most powerful that a customer-facing MCP can do multiple things, both dig into the data, update and embedded analytics assets in the UI, like it just did by adding that chart, but also do the actual work and do other actions. I see, can we get a real-time insight while also querying using Claude, or is AI the overall idea? I would need a bit more context with that question.
From the
Like
way
if you
I'm understanding it, I think the question is, are you using real-time data? Are you querying what's available in Sales Compass, and are you able to tweak it using Claude? That's kind of how I'm reading it. And I think that's what you showed with the MCP example, where you pull the data from Sales Compass, tweak it in Claude, save a brand new report, and it's then available in Sales Compass. So it's a two-way sync in terms of data experience, but maybe the question is a little bit different. So in case you need any further clarification, just let us know in chat and we'll answer that as
yeah.
well.
Yeah, it would be good to get some context. Real-time data can mean a lot of things. Like first of all, this is indeed live data, so this is not static like you would have if you would take the skill approach. Just to give an example, I can do something like show sales over time. Should be a simple enough question. And since this is a live component, if I would refresh this window, it also pulls the latest data. So this front end component, this Lusmo chart, runs its own query. So every time I come back to this conversation, it loads with the most recent data. Truly real time would mean that it streams data in the moment it happens. If that's like the type of real time you mean, that's not happening here. I'm also not sure to say if that would actually be possible with an MCP app, but it might well be that if you want to stream live data, so the moment a deal changes here, that it would be added to this chart without reload or refresh, that might also be possible. So here you see it just answered this question. And when let me try that. When I refresh my screen, you see it connect again, and you see it query the data again. So the data in this demo app doesn't change that frequently, but every time I come back to this field, these charts, since they are Lismo charts, same as we would use in our Sales Compass app, they do show live data.
No, I think we covered everything that was asked so far. I'm just checking if we have anything else on LinkedIn. No,
I
not
think there's
really.
one other thing I can share then. Like I said, the skills approach is useful with any form of embedded analytics. It pains me to say that does not need to be Lusmo, but the approach, the concept can be very useful for any form of embedded analytics to make that better accessible outside of your own platform. If you are interested to look at, hey, how has this been done with that Sales Compass example and look a bit at Lusmo, I can share some documentation to our MCP server that could be used by a company like Sales Compass to wrap that inside their own MCP server or white label that behind your own URL name. So this actually becomes possible without doing the whole work of building that MCP. So any questions on YouTube?
No, not seeing anything. But I guess it will be helpful for us to recap this again with recommendations around the use case for this. So when would you want to build a custom skill and share it with your customers? Why would it be useful for them to use the skill in Claude? And then again, a recommendation around choosing between building a skill and using Claude Code or Claude Cowork, or opting in for MCP, just to round up what we covered today.
Yeah, that would be perfect. Yeah, so what we did, we created that skill. right, for our Sales Compass customers to access Sales Compass data inside tools like Claude with consistency, to create consistent reports, to make sure Claude understands the data. The thought behind this is that when users want to access data and use AI tools that are third-party tools, that you shouldn't see that as competition of what you're building as a product. It works complementary. So the best way is to make it easy for data to flow in your embedded analytics that you're showing in your own platform, or data to flow into tools like Cloud Code, ChatGPT, other tools. And best would be if those things can work together. And if content created in something like Cloud can be taken back to your platform and saved there and share with team members of your customers, for example. Skills are a really good lightweight method for customers to start with that. MCP is definitely also something that, of course, many companies are deploying now. That's also a great method, and the advantage you have there with an MCP is that you can facilitate that two-way interaction. You can make sure that the same UI, the same type of data visualizations, the same interactivity are used inside third-party apps, all branded and on-brand with your platform, and that they can be taken and saved to your platform as well. That makes it really powerful, and I'm convinced from what I'm seeing now with our customers that this actually increases activity of your customers, not just in Claude, but in both Claude and your platform. So it's not pulling customers out of your UI; it's actually increasing both and increasing the usefulness of your data in your platform. When to use a skill and when to use an MCP, people have different preferences. In general, skills are considered a bit more lightweight. So especially those customers that are not using your product daily or weekly even, they might pick a skill, especially if you already have a strong public API that your customers can use. Skills can be really helpful as a lightweight add-on to make that API really powerful in other third-party AI tools. And an MCP makes it very easy to really go that last mile and make things 100% consistent with the rest of your platform and products, and handle things like authentication in an easy way. Yeah, with that, Lena, I think we're there. That concludes what I wanted to share. A lot of discussions nowadays are about how do you build your own agents and your own chat, and that's definitely super useful. And you definitely have the ability there to build chats that can be faster and more powerful on inside your own domain than something like Claude. But I think what's often overlooked is that those super powerful agents like Claude App and ChatGPT, that you can also make sure that those can be used more powerful to access data and visualize data and work with your product.
And I think ultimately, given that they're so ubiquitous, you really want to provide your customers a choice if they want to log into your product and interact with it firsthand, if they want to use your custom built agents, or if they want to access your product using their LLM of choice, for example. And I think you were able to demonstrate exactly that today. And I just checked that we don't have any outstanding questions that we need to answer so far. I also checked that our Notion page is up to date, so we'll be sharing that as well along with the recording. So in case you had to drop, in case you're following this recording async, you'll also have access to a helpful link where Jasper collected all of the tips, recommendations, and the prompts that he used. So hopefully this will be helpful for you to continue building this, share it with your team and your customers. And in case you have any questions, don't hesitate to follow up with us even after this workshop ends. And thanks, Jasper, for running this for us today. Perfect timing. We're finishing up like we wanted in under an hour. And hopefully you had fun building things with us, and stay tuned for more hands-on workshops and sessions that we're going to run in the future.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thank you, Jasper. Bye, everyone.